Hello, welcome back to the channel. So I'm getting ready to work on this Marx motor. It's out of a, see if you can get where I can see it. It's out of a 666. I picked up, I don't know, it's been a few months ago. I picked up, it's either 9 or 10 locomotives in one lot, and I got a couple 333s with it and a couple 999s, and I think there was 6 of the 666s. Might have been 11666. Most of them I've got working already, and this was one of the last ones I had, and I got it out actually a few days ago to test it, and it won't do anything. The E unit, I finally got it to start cycling, but I never could get any power to the motor. It was getting power to the smoke unit, because when I moved it back and forth on the track, it would smoke, so I know it was getting power there. And so I'm getting ready to take it apart. I'm pretty sure the E unit in this is just a mess. It was extremely filthy. You can see how dark the pickup is on it. And you can see it's oiled. I oiled it all, and like I said, tried to get it working, but just wouldn't do anything. So we're just going to take it apart, see if we can figure out what's going on with it. And I'm sure it's going to be E unit. Most of the time, wow, they really twisted that. Don't want to twist it the wrong way. Probably break off, hopefully not. I don't know if this camera's too close or not. Trying a new way to hold it up here. But most of the time it's the E unit, you know, on these, and you can bypass it, but I'm gonna not do that. I'm going to go ahead and break it down and see if we can figure out what's going on here. Trying to keep it in the camera, guys, but I'm not sure I will or won't. Let's see, I need to adjust it up a little bit. You can see my workbench is a mess. I got parts everywhere. I've been doing remodeling on the house and really not messing with the trains a whole lot, but most of the remodeling work's done. And I came down a few days ago and started going through all my parts, and it kind of ended up all here on the workbench and not put away. It's a good smoke unit, so I don't want to break it, or somebody really twisted this tab over. It's kind of got a spot in it there. I don't know if it's going to come over it or not. There we go. So, smoke unit's off. Extremely dirty. We're going to pull the wheels on this if we can. You can see the axle's got a lot of rust on it, and I think it had a lot of exposure to moisture just by the looks of everything. So I'm hoping the wheels will actually hold back on when we go to put it back up together. But I'm going to pull the wheels from the gear side. I think this is a new enough version. A lot of these double reduction motors has splining on this side, and there's, I think, staked on this side. So if you pull this side off, you're going to have to file it to get the axle out. If you pull it from the gear side, it should slide right off right out of the bearing without having to do any filing on it. Now, you got to be careful pulling it from this side so you don't mess your gears up, but that's my preferred way of doing it. Everybody has their own opinion on it. And these pullers are clunky as all get out. I've been meaning to get another one from Grossman's. They have one that's made out of a battery terminal puller that looks like it would work a lot better than these. This one's hard to keep centered, in my opinion. Wants to roll off the axle, especially when you're trying to pull it off this geared side, because it's hard to get centered without hitting the gear. There we go. Let's see if I was right. If it is, yeah, I don't know if you can see, but see how this side's splined? And that side will usually slip right out of the bearing, just like that, without any issues. The older motors, you know, the single reduction motors with the smaller axles and stuff on them, it's better to pull those from the other side because they don't usually have the splining on them. And the geared side has actually got bigger notches on it than the other side. They still stake both sides of it, but one side is staked a lot heavier. At least what I've noticed. I had this puller taped up, so it was not as difficult to use, but this is actually a new one because the old one stripped out, and I've never taped this one up. This one I'm a little concerned about because it's got so much rust on it that it's going to be stuck pretty good. There we go. And it came off pretty easy, so not too worried about that. And make sure I didn't mess the gear up. Looks good, no broken teeth. Pretty grimy, but... And I believe this motor's been apart before. only because these nuts on here, they're rounded on one side, and on the other side they kind of got spurs on them, and those spurs would normally keep the nut from backing off. Of course, they could have been put on wrong from the factory. And normally I would test this armature too while I have it apart, and I may still at some point test it, but I was actually using my multimeter up in the house when I was doing some wiring, so I don't have it down here. Brushes look fairly good. Hardly no wear on those at all. And they honestly look like replacements, not originals. And this armature is actually fairly clean too for the condition the motor was in. But it does have some wear on it. We'll clean that up. It goes back together. Well, I was going to pull the wires off of this, but we might be able to separate this one without doing that. So, separate the C unit. First thing you need to do is get a hold of each side of it and just try to pull it out. I don't know, it's got tabs that stick in each end of that. You just need to get it out of those tabs. That side's loose. I don't know if we can do this. I've never actually done one with the wires still on it. I usually go ahead and pull them off. Let's see, the wire's holding it someplace. Shouldn't be. That one may be enough to. Yeah, here we go. So this is the part of the E unit you usually need to worry about. If the coil side's working, then it's usually not a problem. This is actually fairly clean compared to the way I've seen them, but when you go back together with it, you'll need to clean all this off. Need to polish this. A lot of times, you know, if they're really dirty, that can cause them to stick. And these E units are actually very simple made. You know, they're just a little switch is basically all it is. What is that? So it had enough rust on it. One of the tabs broke off there, so we're gonna have to replace that bottom unit. And you can see how dirty this is. This then likely the reason it wouldn't run, I don't know how good it shows, but that's just all corroded and black. And usually to clean those up, I'll just, use a water wheel. They're already looking better. Need to clean the sides of this too. So just clean all that up. And right there you can see, I don't know if the light's good enough, but see how black these fingers are? This is exactly why it wouldn't run. They're just completely corroded over. So we'll clean all that up. I'll have to replace this bottom piece since it was so rusted it just broke off. I'm sure I've got one here someplace. Once you get the wheels off of these, they're fairly easy to break down the rest of the way. So I got that off. Can't pull that out because the wires are soldered through there. So usually I go ahead and disconnect those wires, but we're not going to do it this time. So on this, the fingers need to be cleaned. These side plates, that's a connection. Your power wire connects on one side, and so this is the connection for the side of the rocker. And I really don't think it matters which way this rocker goes back in, but I try to pay attention to the way it come out and just put it back in the same way. But honestly, I don't think it matters. I think it'll work either way. This was a little more difficult to get without bending my fingers up. This upper part doesn't really have to be cleaned. I usually just do it just to make it look better. The smaller round part there where the rocker goes in. I don't know how well you can hear me when that's running, but the smaller round part, you know, where the rocker goes in it, that needs to be cleaned good. And the upper part really doesn't actually matter a lot. Let's see if I can find a piece to put back on the top of this. I've got one of these drawers or someplace here has E units. My parts are all a mess, they're just laying everywhere. There's probably a good E unit. I could probably just replace it. But that's probably a good one, so I don't want to take it apart. I know there's some E-unit parts here someplace. That's all push rods. I may be wrong. They may be in another box. This is why I was going through my parts, but I never finished it because they're scattered everywhere. So, I don't have the base to put back on this one that I can see right here. I know I have some, it's just where they at. So, anyway, guys, we'll keep working on this and get it cleaned up better and put back together. See if this fixes it or not, but I'm going to go through and clean all of it. But as far as cleaning the E-unit, you know, that's the biggest part, is cleaning all these connections here, the fingers, the rocker, wherever it went, right there. You know, clean this up really good. You just have to take your time and put it all back together the way it come apart. These E-units are easily repaired if, you know, the coil up here still functions. If the coils burn out, a lot of times there's no repairing it. But one thing to check, if you think the coil's dead, always check the ground side where the coil wire is grounded. I've seen several of them where they lost connection there, whether it be from rust or a bad solder joint. You know, you can check both sides of that coil, make sure it's soldered good and getting power through it before you give up on it. But anyway, I just wanted to break this down and kind of give you a look at what I think the problem was, and we'll put it back together and we'll take another look at it. So thanks for watching. So guys, we got this 666 back together. Pretty rough. I cleaned the push rods and everything on it, just wire wheeled them. It's a rough old locomotive. I mean, it's been exposed to a lot of water. I actually had to grind on this to try to clean it up a little bit. It was just chunked out or eroded. But the motor works good. Cleaned up that E-unit. Got it all back together. Runs just fine. As far as the mechanicals of it, the only thing, after cleaning everything, I added a light bulb to it and did some basic cleaning on the trucks and oiled everything, and it's up and running. The unit works just fine. Good and smooth. Smoke unit works on it, but about the only place you can see it's right here in the light. It doesn't show up on the video very well at all. So anyway, guys, old rough 666 turned out fairly decent. You know, I'm not going to do much to it because I will probably leave this motor in here until I use it for some other project. I've got a 391 and some Commodore Vanderbilts and other things that I might use this motor in. Kind of hate to take apart a complete engine, but you know, that's part of the fun is you know, building new things and putting things back together. So and that's, you know, I have bought some newer engines. I made a video recently running some of them, but I get more enjoyment out of repairing this old stuff. I don't, you know, whatever it is, you know. Let's see. I just picked this 2026 up at a flea market a while back, and it was, you know, filthy and dirty and rusty, and went through and cleaned it all up, and it actually works really good. And smoke unit works in it. The smoke unit's a little noisy just because of the design of it, but you know, like I said, I get more enjoyment out of these old ones because my favorite part of the hobby is the repairing and building things, and you know, so I enjoy like the newer ones, just running them, but I get more enjoyment out of fixing the old. But anyway, that's about all I got to share today. So we'll let you go with that, and thanks for watching.